The notification chime from my phone cut through the desert silence like a knife. I was 3 days into a software deployment contract in El Paso, debugging network infrastructure for a government facility that shall remain nameless. The kind of work that pays well, but keeps you awake at night, staring at code until your eyes burn. The text was from Lisa Martinez, our neighbor back in Austin. Lisa had lived next door for 8 years, watched our daughters grow up, borrowed sugar, complained about property taxes. Normal suburban stuff. Her message wasn't normal. "Eric, you need to call me. Your wife's been bringing men over while you're away. I have proof." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Rachel and I had been married 12 years. Sure, things had been rocky lately. My travel schedule, her promotion to senior HR manager, the girls needing more attention than either of us had energy to give. But this was a sledgehammer to the chest. I stepped outside the motel room, desert sand grinding under my boots. The El Paso heat was brutal even at 9 p.m. I dialed Lisa's number with trembling fingers. "Eric?" Her voice was tight, careful. "Thank God you called. I didn't know how to tell you this." "Tell me what exactly?" "I've been seeing cars in your driveway. Different cars, different men. Always when you're gone. I thought maybe it was work stuff at first, but..." She paused. "Eric, I installed a new doorbell camera last month. The angle shows part of your front door. I've got footage." My throat went dry. "Send it." "Are you sure? Maybe you should..." "Send it, Lisa." The video files came through as attachments, 3 different clips, all from the past 2 weeks. Monday, a silver BMW pulling into our driveway at 7 p.m., a tall man in a business suit walking to our front door. Wednesday, a red pickup truck, younger guy in jeans and a polo shirt. Friday, a black Audi, older man with gray temples. All of them had keys. I watched Rachel answer the door in each clip. Not surprised, not formal, familiar, intimate. The kind of greeting you give someone you're expecting, someone you want there. "Jesus Christ," I whispered. "Eric, I'm so sorry. I should have called sooner, but I kept thinking there had to be an explanation. Maybe they were contractors or..." "No." My voice sounded hollow. "No, Lisa. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for being honest." I hung up and sat on the motel room bed staring at my phone. 12 years of marriage, 2 beautiful daughters, a mortgage we'd almost paid off, family vacations to Colorado, anniversary dinners, Sunday morning pancakes in our pajamas. All of it a lie. But as the shock wore off, something else crept in. Something cold and calculating. Rachel thought she was smart, keeping her affairs quiet while I was away. She thought she could control the narrative, manage the situation. She was wrong. I opened my laptop and started making calls. First to my project manager, family emergency, need to wrap up early. Then to my bank, checking account balances, recent transactions. Finally, to a buddy from my Army days who now worked private security in Austin. "Tommy, it's Eric Maddox. I need a favor, and I need it quiet." By midnight, I had a plan. Rachel wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that I'd been playing games a lot longer than she had, and I was very, very good at winning. The flight from El Paso to Austin gave me 3 hours to think, 3 hours to plan, 3 hours to let the rage settle into something colder and more useful. I didn't tell Rachel I was coming home early. Didn't text, didn't call, just rented a car at the airport and drove to our neighborhood in Cedar Park, that sprawling suburban maze of ranch houses and perfect lawns where everyone knows everyone else's business. Except apparently, they didn't know Rachel's business. Or they did, and they were keeping quiet about it. I parked 2 blocks away and walked home at 2 a.m., using the key hidden under the fake rock by the back patio. The house was dark, quiet. Rachel was asleep in our bed, alone for once. The girls were at her mother's house for the week. Convenient timing. I went to my home office and powered up my computer. First stop, our joint checking account. The balance made my stomach drop. $12,000 missing. Transferred to an account I didn't recognize in amounts just small enough to avoid automatic fraud alerts. Next, credit report. 3 new accounts opened in the past month. All with my social security number, all with addresses I didn't recognize. One was for an apartment complex in South Austin. Rachel wasn't just cheating, she was planning her exit strategy. I spent the next 4 hours going through everything: bank statements, credit cards, insurance policies. She'd been methodical, careful, moving money, changing beneficiaries, even updating her emergency contacts at work, all while kissing me goodbye and telling me she'd miss me while I was gone. At 6 a.m., I heard her alarm go off. Shower running, hair dryer, the morning routine I'd watched 1,000 times. I stayed in my office, listening to her get ready for another day of lying to my face. She left for work at 7:30, same as always. Black Honda Accord, travel mug of coffee, NPR on the radio, the picture of suburban normalcy. I waited until 8 a.m., then called Lisa. "Eric, are you back?" "I'm back. Can you come over? We need to talk." Lisa arrived 15 minutes later with a manila folder and a grim expression. She was 45, divorced, worked as a paralegal downtown, sharp as a tack and twice as tough. "I printed everything," she said, spreading photos across my kitchen table. Doorbell footage, license plate numbers, timestamps. "Eric, this has been going on for months. I just didn't realize what I was seeing until recently." The photos told the story. Different men, different cars, but always the same pattern. They'd arrive in the evening, stay 2 or 3 hours, leave after dark. Always when I was traveling. "Do you know who they are?" I asked. I ran the plates through a friend at the DMV. The BMW belongs to Sean Vickers, works at the same company as Rachel. The pickup truck is registered to Jake Morrison. He's a contractor, does work around the neighborhood. The Audi belongs to David Chen, some kind of consultant. 3 men, 3 separate affairs. Rachel wasn't just cheating, she was running a rotation. "There's something else," Lisa said quietly. "I talked to some of the other neighbors. Carol from across the street, the Johnsons from the corner house. They've been asking questions about you." "What kind of questions?" "About your temper. Whether you've ever been violent. Rachel's been telling people you've been different since you got back from overseas." I stared at her. "I was never deployed overseas. I do government IT contracts." "I know that, but Rachel's been spinning a story. Says you have PTSD, that you've been aggressive, that she's scared of you." The pieces clicked into place. Rachel wasn't just planning to leave me. She was building a case, making me look like the bad guy so she could take the girls, take the house, take everything. "Lisa, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Do you think I'm dangerous? Do you think I'd ever hurt Rachel or my daughters?" She looked me straight in the eye. "Eric, I've known you for 8 years. You're the guy who helps me carry groceries when my back's acting up. You're the dad who coaches Little League and volunteers at the school carnival. If you're dangerous, then I'm the Queen of England." I nodded. "Then help me. Help me show everyone who Rachel really is." Lisa smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "Honey, it would be my pleasure." The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I called in sick to work and spent the day investigating my own wife. First stop was Rachel's company, Meridian Solutions. Big glass building in downtown Austin, the kind of place where everyone wears expensive suits and talks about synergy. I didn't go inside, just sat in the parking garage and watched. Rachel's BMW was parked on the 3rd level, right next to a silver sedan I recognized from Lisa's photos. Sean Vickers, her business partner. At lunchtime, I watched them leave together, drive to a hotel on the east side of town, and return 2 hours later. 12 years of marriage, and my wife was having lunch hour quickies with her coworker. But I wasn't just there to confirm what I already knew. I was there to gather intelligence. I followed Sean home after work. Nice house in Westlake, probably worth $800,000. Manicured lawn, three-car garage, the works. A woman in yoga pants was watering flowers in the front yard, his wife, presumably. She waved at him like everything was normal. Sean's wife had no idea her husband was screwing my wife. That gave me an idea. I drove to Office Depot and spent $200 on supplies. High-quality printer paper, color ink cartridges, manila envelopes, stamps. Then I went home and got to work. The first letter was to Sean's wife, Jennifer Vickers. I kept it simple, factual. Dear Mrs. Vickers, I'm writing to inform you that your husband Sean has been having an affair with my wife, Rachel Maddox. I have photographic evidence and timestamps if you'd like to see them. I thought you deserved to know. Sincerely, Eric Maddox. I included printouts of Lisa's doorbell footage, showing Sean entering and leaving my house. The second letter was to Jake Morrison's wife. Same format, same evidence. The third letter was trickier. David Chen wasn't married, but he was a consultant who worked with several major Austin companies. His reputation was his livelihood. I addressed that letter to his business partners. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I spent the evening digging deeper into Rachel's digital footprint. Her laptop was password protected, but I'd built the home network. I had administrative access to everything connected to it. Her browser history was a goldmine. Hotel bookings, restaurant reservations, even a Victoria's Secret order from last month that I'd never seen. She was living a completely separate life. But the real treasure was in her cloud storage. Photos, videos, text messages, all backed up automatically, including conversations with her sister Melissa about getting rid of Eric and making sure he can't fight the divorce. One text thread made my blood run cold. Rachel. I need to document his temper. Make it look like I'm afraid. Melissa. Take photos if he leaves any marks. Rachel. He's never actually hit me. Too smart for that. Melissa. Then make some marks yourself. Bruises fade, but photos last forever. They were planning to frame me for domestic violence. I screenshot everything, printed it all, and organized it into neat folders. One for each affair, one for the financial fraud, one for the conspiracy to frame me. Then I started making calls. Tommy, it's Eric again. I need those surveillance photos we talked about. Yeah, all of them. No, I want this completely legal. Nothing that can't be used in court. My army buddy had been busy. Professional-grade photos of Rachel entering hotels with different men, timestamps and locations clearly visible. The kind of evidence that would hold up under scrutiny. Eric, what the hell is going on? Tommy asked. My wife is trying to destroy me, I said. But she made one mistake. What's that? She underestimated how much I learned in the Army about planning and executing missions. I hung up and looked at the mountain of evidence spread across my desk. Bank records, photos, text messages, witness statements. Enough to bury Rachel's reputation and her plans. But I wasn't ready to strike yet. First, I needed to know exactly how deep this conspiracy went. The next morning, I did something that felt surreal. I pretended everything was normal. Rachel came down to breakfast in her business suit, kissed my cheek, and asked about my trip to El Paso. I told her it went fine, that the client was happy, that I'd be home for a few weeks before the next contract. That's wonderful, she said, and her smile looked genuine. The girls will be so excited. They've missed you. The girls. Beth and Jamie, 10 and 8 years old. They were spending the week with Rachel's parents, completely unaware that their family was imploding. After Rachel left for work, I drove to her parents' house in Round Rock. Bill and Margaret Thompson, married 43 years, pillars of their church community. They'd never liked me much, thought Rachel had married beneath her station, but they loved their granddaughters. Margaret answered the door with a tight smile. Eric, I wasn't expecting you. I came to see the girls. Is that a problem? Of course not. They're in the backyard with Bill. Beth and Jamie ran to me like I'd been gone for months instead of days. We played on the swing set, talked about school, made plans for the weekend. Normal dad stuff. The kind of moments that make everything else worth fighting for. But I wasn't just there for a visit. I was there to plant seeds. Margaret, I said as we watched the girls play, has Rachel seemed different to you lately? Stressed, maybe? Margaret's expression shifted slightly. She has been working long hours, and she mentioned that you've been difficult since your last deployment. There it was. Rachel had been poisoning the well with her own parents. I've never been deployed, I said calmly. I do work for government contractors, domestic contracts only. Margaret blinked. But Rachel says a lot of things. Not all of them are true. I left it at that. Let her think about it. Wonder what else Rachel might have lied about. On the drive home, my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Eric Maddox? Yes. This is Jennifer Vickers. I got your letter. My pulse quickened. Mrs. Vickers, I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Are you sure? About Sean and your wife? I have photos, timestamps, hotel receipts. I can email them to you if you want. Silence for a long moment. Then, yes, send them, all of them. Mrs. Vickers, I know this is hard. Hard? Her voice was sharp now. Hard as finding out your husband of 15 years is a cheating bastard through a letter from a stranger. Send me the evidence, Mr. Maddox. All of it. I sent the files from my car, sitting in a Starbucks parking lot. Within an hour, my phone rang again. Jake Morrison here. You sent my wife a letter. Jake Morrison, pickup truck guy. I did. You got proof of what you're claiming? I do. Then we need to talk. In person. We met at a sports bar on South Lamar. Jake was younger than I'd expected. Maybe 35, with calloused hands and a direct way of speaking. Construction foreman, he told me. Married 8 years, 2 kids. Show me, he said without preamble. I slid a folder across the table. Photos of his truck in my driveway, time stamps showing he'd been there for hours while I was out of town. Jake studied the images, his jaw getting tighter with each one. Bastard. I'm sorry, I said. I know this isn't easy. Easy? He laughed bitterly. My wife thinks I've been working late. I've been telling her the Morrison construction is booming. That's why I'm never home. Turns out I've been getting played by some suburban housewife who gets off on screwing married men. What are you going to do? Jake's smile was cold. Same thing you're doing, I expect. Burn it all down. That evening, I got a call from David Chen's business partner. Professional, clipped, very unhappy. Chen was being removed from their current contracts pending an investigation into his personal conduct. 3 men, 3 different reactions, but all of them angry, all of them feeling betrayed, all of them ready to help me destroy Rachel. I was starting to feel like a general assembling an army, and tomorrow the war would begin in earnest. Rachel came home that evening looking rattled. Her usually perfect composure was cracked around the edges, and she kept checking her phone every few minutes. Everything okay at work? I asked over dinner. Fine. Just some personnel issues. She forced a smile. How was your day? Productive. Caught up on some things I'd been putting off. We ate in relative silence, the kind of quiet that used to be comfortable, but now felt charged with unspoken tension. I watched her push food around her plate, noticed the way she flinched when her phone buzzed. After dinner, I retreated to my office. At 9 p.m., my phone rang. Eric, it's Jennifer Vickers. Sean came home an hour ago. We need to talk. What happened? I confronted him with your evidence. He tried to deny it at first, but... She paused. I threw him out. He's staying at a hotel tonight. I'm sorry it came to that. Don't be. I'm grateful you told me. But there's something else. Sean said your wife has been telling people you're unstable, that you've threatened her. My grip tightened on the phone. That's not true. I figured as much. But Eric, she's been building a case against you. Sean mentioned something about photos, documentation. You need to be careful. After hanging up, I sat in my office thinking. Rachel was escalating, which meant I needed to escalate too. I opened my laptop and started typing. Not a letter this time, a comprehensive report. Timeline of Rachel's affairs, financial irregularities, evidence of her conspiracy to frame me for domestic violence. 40 pages of documentation, cross-referenced and annotated. Then I made copies. Lots of copies. The first copy went to Rachel's HR department with a cover letter explaining that one of their senior managers was engaged in multiple extramarital affairs with colleagues and contractors, creating a hostile work environment and potential legal liability. The second copy went to our divorce attorney, the one Rachel thought she was going to use to take me to the cleaners. The third copy went to Child Protective Services, along with evidence that Rachel was planning to make false accusations of domestic violence in order to gain custody of our daughters. The fourth copy went to the Austin Police Department, documenting Rachel's financial fraud and conspiracy to file false police reports. I printed and mailed everything at 2 a.m. using a 24-hour postal service. By the time Rachel woke up, the wheels would already be in motion. But I wasn't done. Not even close. The next morning, Rachel left for work as usual. I waited 30 minutes, then drove to her office building. I didn't go inside. I didn't need to. I just needed to be seen. I parked where Rachel would see my car when she came back from lunch. Then I waited. At 12:15, Rachel's BMW pulled into the parking garage. Alone this time, apparently her lunch dates with Sean were off the table. She saw my car immediately, and even from 50 yards away, I could see her face go pale. I got out and walked over to her. "Hello, Rachel." "Eric, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk." "I'm at work. This isn't appropriate. Neither is sleeping with 3 different men while your husband is out of town, but here we are." Rachel's composure cracked completely. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone and showed her one of Lisa's photos. Sean Vickers entering our house with a key. "Really? You're going to lie to my face even now?" Rachel looked around the parking garage, checking to see if anyone was watching. "Not here, not like this." "Then where? When? After you filed false police reports and tried to steal my daughters?" Her eyes widened. "How did you know about your little plan?" "Rachel, I've known about everything for days. The affairs, the money you've been stealing, the lies you've been telling about me having PTSD and being violent, all of it." "Eric, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You wanted out of our marriage, but you were too much of a coward to just ask for a divorce. So you decided to destroy me instead. Make me look like the bad guy so you could take everything." Rachel's face was white now, her hands shaking. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like? Explain it to me. Explain how screwing Sean Vickers and Jake Morrison and David Chen was somehow my fault." "You're never here." The words exploded out of her. "You're always traveling, always working, always putting your job before your family. So you decided to put other men's dicks before your family instead?" She slapped me. Hard. The sound echoed through the parking garage. I didn't flinch, didn't react, just looked at her with something that might have been pity. "Feel better?" I asked. Rachel was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "Eric, please. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can—" "No," I said quietly. "We can't. Because this isn't about our marriage, Rachel. This is about who you are. And who you are is someone who lies, cheats, steals, and tries to destroy the father of her children to get what she wants." I turned to walk away, then stopped. "Oh, and Rachel, you might want to check your email, and maybe call your lawyer and your boss. It's going to be a busy afternoon." I left her standing there in the parking garage, crying and broken. But I felt no satisfaction, no sense of victory, because the real battle was just beginning. By 6 p.m. that evening, my phone was ringing nonstop. Rachel's sister Melissa called first, screaming obscenities and threats. Then Rachel's mother, demanding to know what I'd done to her daughter. Then a lawyer I'd never heard of, claiming to represent Rachel in this matter. I didn't answer any of them. I was too busy preparing for the final phase of my plan. Rachel came home at 8 p.m., red-eyed and disheveled. She'd been crying for hours, and her professional composure was completely gone. "Eric, we need to talk." "I'm listening." She sat down across from me at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten breakfast that morning, pretending everything was normal. "I've been suspended from work pending an investigation," she said quietly. I heard. "My lawyer says the evidence you've provided makes it impossible to pursue the divorce settlement we discussed." "Good. Child Services wants to interview both of us about the custody arrangement. I'm available whenever they want to talk." Rachel looked up at me, and for a moment I saw the woman I'd married 12 years ago. Vulnerable, scared, human. "Eric, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I am. I never meant for it to go this far." "What did you mean, Rachel? What was the end game here?" She was quiet for a long time. "I wanted out. I wanted a different life, and I thought if I could make you look bad enough, I could take the girls and start over somewhere else." "With Sean?" "Maybe. I don't know. I wasn't thinking clearly." "You were thinking clearly enough to steal $12,000 from our joint account. Clearly enough to open credit cards in my name. Clearly enough to plan fake domestic violence accusations." Rachel flinched. "That was Melissa's idea." "But you went along with it." "Yes." We sat in silence for a few minutes. Outside, I could hear kids playing in the neighborhood, the sound of normal suburban life continuing around our imploded marriage. "What happens now?" Rachel asked finally. "Now you move out, tonight. You can stay at your sister's place or get a hotel, I don't care. But you don't sleep in this house anymore." "What about the girls?" "The girls stay with me until Child Services completes their investigation. After that, we'll see what the court says about custody." "Eric, please." "This isn't negotiable, Rachel. You made your choices. Now you live with the consequences." Rachel nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Can I pack a bag?" "Make it quick." While Rachel was upstairs packing, my phone rang again. This time I answered. "Mr. Maddox? This is Detective Sarah Williams with the Austin Police Department. We received your complaint about financial fraud and conspiracy. We'd like to schedule an interview." "I'm available anytime." "How about tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.? "I'll be there." After Rachel left, I called the girls at their grandparents' house, told them Mommy and Daddy were having some problems, but that I loved them and would see them soon. They didn't understand, of course. How could they? Then I called Lisa. "It's done," I said. "How do you feel?" I thought about it. "Empty, tired, but not sorry." "Good, she had it coming." "Lisa, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why did you help me?" "You could have just minded your own business." Lisa was quiet for a moment. "Because 12 years ago my husband was cheating on me, and nobody told me. I wasted 2 years of my life trying to save a marriage that was already over because nobody had the guts to tell me the truth." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Just promise me something." "What?" "Promise me you'll be a better father to those girls than their mother was a wife to you." "I promise." The house felt different that night, quieter, emptier, but also cleaner somehow, like an infection had been lanced and could finally start to heal. I sat in my office, looking at the evidence folders I'd assembled. All that planning, all that work, all that careful documentation. It had been necessary, but it had also changed me, made me harder, more calculating. I wondered if that was a good thing or a bad thing. Then I decided it didn't matter. Rachel had declared war on our family and I'd won. That was all that counted. Tomorrow I'd talk to the police, meet with Child Services, start the process of rebuilding our lives without Rachel's lies and betrayals. But tonight, for the first time in weeks, I slept peacefully. 3 months later, I was sitting in family court watching Rachel's lawyer make a final, desperate plea for joint custody. It wasn't going well for them. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Patricia Hernandez, had already heard testimony about Rachel's affairs, her financial fraud, and her conspiracy to make false domestic violence accusations. She'd seen the evidence, heard from witnesses, and reviewed the child services report that recommended I retain primary custody. "Your Honor," Rachel's lawyer was saying, "my client acknowledges that she made mistakes in her marriage, but those mistakes don't make her an unfit mother." Judge Hernandez looked up from her notes. "Counselor, your client didn't just make mistakes. She engaged in systematic deception, financial fraud, and attempted to manipulate the legal system with false accusations. She planned to destroy her husband's reputation and relationship with his children in order to gain an advantage in divorce proceedings. Your Honor, if I may—" "You may not." The judge's voice was sharp. "I've seen a lot of messy divorces in my courtroom, but I've rarely seen such calculated malice. Mrs. Maddox didn't just betray her husband, she betrayed the legal system and put her own children at risk." Rachel was crying quietly at the defendant's table. She'd lost weight, looked older. The past 3 months had not been kind to her. The criminal charges had been dropped. Prosecutors decided the financial fraud wasn't worth pursuing, and the conspiracy charges were too hard to prove. But the civil consequences had been devastating. She'd been fired from Meridian Solutions after an internal investigation confirmed she'd been having affairs with colleagues and contractors. Her professional reputation was destroyed. Her security clearance had been revoked. She was working as a receptionist at a dental office, making a third of her previous salary. Sean Vickers had been fired too. His wife had taken him to the cleaners in their divorce, and he was living in a studio apartment, paying alimony and child support. Jake Morrison's wife had kicked him out, but they were trying to work things out in counseling. David Chen had moved to Dallas after his consulting business collapsed. "Mr. Maddox," Judge Hernandez said, turning to me, "the court is prepared to award you primary physical custody of both children, with supervised visitation rights for Mrs. Maddox, pending completion of court-ordered counseling and parenting classes." I nodded. "Thank you, Your Honor." "Don't thank me yet. Raising 2 girls as a single father is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. Are you prepared for that responsibility?" I looked over at Beth and Jamie, sitting with my parents in the gallery. They'd been through hell these past 3 months, confused, scared, angry at both their parents for reasons they couldn't fully understand. "Yes, Your Honor, I am." "Then this court awards primary custody to Eric Maddox with the following conditions." The legal details took another hour to work out, but the outcome was never in doubt. Rachel had destroyed her own case with her lies and schemes. As we left the courthouse, Rachel caught up with me in the parking lot. "Eric, wait." I stopped, but didn't turn around. "What, Rachel?" "I know you hate me. I know I deserve it. But please don't turn the girls against me. They're still my daughters." I turned to face her. She looked broken, defeated. Nothing like the confident woman who'd been planning my destruction just a few months ago. "I won't turn them against you," I said, "but I won't lie to them either. When they're old enough to understand what happened, they'll know the truth. That's all I can ask for, I guess. Rachel, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Was any of it real? Our marriage? Our family? Was any of it real to you?" She was quiet for a long time. "The first few years were real. Before the girls, before the mortgage, before life got complicated. But somewhere along the way, I started feeling trapped, like I was living someone else's life. So you decided to blow it all up instead of just asking for a divorce. I was scared. Scared of being alone, scared of starting over, scared of being judged. So I tried to make it your fault instead of taking responsibility for my own choices." I nodded. "At least you're honest about it now. Too little, too late." "Yeah, too little, too late." We stood there in awkward silence for a moment. 12 years of marriage, 2 children, a lifetime of shared memories. all of it reduced to this uncomfortable conversation in a courthouse parking lot. "I should go," Rachel said finally. "The girls are waiting for you." "Rachel?" "Yeah?" "Get help. Real help. Not just the court-ordered counseling. Find a therapist, figure out why you did what you did, and fix it. Because if you don't, you'll just do it again to someone else." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I will. I promise." I watched her walk away, getting into her 10-year-old Honda Civic. The BMW had been repossessed when she couldn't make the payments. She looked small, diminished. Nothing like the woman who'd tried to destroy my life. I felt something I hadn't expected. Pity, but not regret. Never regret. Epilogue. Moving forward. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was coaching Beth's soccer team and helping Jamie with her science fair project about volcanoes. We'd settled into a routine: school, homework, dinner, bedtime stories, normal single dad stuff. The house felt different now, lighter somehow. We'd redecorated the girls' rooms, painted the kitchen, installed a new security system, making it ours instead of ours, and Rachel's. Rachel saw the girls every other weekend, supervised visits at first, but gradually expanding as she completed her counseling requirements. The girls were still confused and hurt, but they were adapting. Kids are resilient that way. Lisa Martinez had become an unofficial aunt to Beth and Jamie, helping with carpools and babysitting when I had to travel for work. She'd also started dating again, a nice guy from her church who seemed to genuinely care about her. "You know what the best part is?" she said one evening as we watched the girls play in the backyard. "What's that?" "You won. You actually won." I thought about that. Had I won? Rachel's life was in ruins, her reputation destroyed, her relationship with her children damaged possibly beyond repair. 3 marriages had been destroyed, careers ruined, lives upended. But my daughters were safe. They were with me, in their own home, surrounded by people who loved them and would never lie to them or use them as pawns in adult games. "Yeah," I said. "I guess I did win." That night, after the girls were asleep, I sat in my office looking at the evidence folders that had started it all. Lisa's doorbell footage, bank records, text messages, all the proof of Rachel's betrayal and deception. I'd kept everything, filed it away in case I ever needed it again. But I hoped I never would. I thought about the man I'd been 6 months ago, trusting, naive, willing to believe the best about people even when the evidence suggested otherwise. That man was gone, replaced by someone harder, more suspicious, less willing to take anything at face value. Was that a good thing? I wasn't sure, but it was necessary. Rachel had taught me that the people closest to you are often the ones most capable of destroying you. It was a lesson I wouldn't forget. My phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Eric, this is Jennifer Vickers. Just wanted you to know that Sean and I are officially divorced. Thank you for telling me the truth. I hope you and your girls are doing well." I texted back, "We're doing fine. I hope you are too. Better than fine. I'm free." I understood that feeling. Freedom from lies, from deception, from the constant stress of living with someone who was systematically betraying you. It was worth more than money, more than property, more than pride. I deleted the text thread and closed my laptop. Tomorrow was Saturday. Soccer practice for Beth, swimming lessons for Jamie, grocery shopping and laundry and all the mundane tasks that make up a normal life. A life without Rachel's drama and schemes and betrayals. A life where I could trust the people around me because I'd learned to verify everything. A life where my daughters would grow up knowing that their father had fought for them when it mattered most. I turned off the lights and went upstairs to check on the girls. Beth was sprawled across her bed, soccer ball clutched in her arms. Jamie was curled up with her favorite stuffed elephant, science fair project materials scattered on her desk. They were mine, safe, loved, protected from the chaos their mother had tried to create. Rachel had wanted to destroy me, but she'd only made me stronger. She'd wanted to take my children, but she'd only ensured they'd never trust her completely again. She'd wanted to start a new life, but she'd only succeeded in ruining the one she had. I'd won because I'd been smarter, more patient, more thorough. But mostly, I'd won because I'd been willing to fight for what mattered most. And that was a victory worth having.